Now, tell me about the storytelling that happens on First Thursdays. What kind of stories are we hearing there? What kind of journeys are being shared?
It's a whole range of stories. We've had from made-up stories to real stories. So we have, for example, Vera the Voice, who will be there again this Thursday. And she's been telling a story that she's created about women and black women and our sexuality. And she says we don't get opportunities to share those stories. And this Thursday she's going to tell the story from the beginning to the end. Wow. We've had a woman who's written a book who talked about being in a difficult marriage and her divorce and the liberation she got, you know, the whole process and the struggle to her divorce and the liberation afterwards. We've had a woman who makes dolls, and she talks about how the dolls were a healing process for her, and now she makes dolls. We've had, sometimes because we're in the gallery, the artists who are exhibiting tell their stories. So we had a woman who had a piece of artwork that she had worked on for 10 years. Wow. And she said it carried her through her divorce. Wow. And then we have had Palesa Mutsumi, who was talking about African fabric, and she brought in a whole 3, 4, 5 different young people who are working with African fabric and the meaning the fabric has for them and why they chose particular fabrics. So it's a wide range. We had a woman who tells us that she's not a rape victim, but she's a survivor. And she told her story and how she is now working with other people to help them and support them. We've had authors. So it's every story. And I think that's the essence of Women's Own, that every woman has a story to tell. And that story will touch somebody's life, and that story will inspire. And instead of looking for Oprahs and other people out there, there's a lot of wisdom around you. Women have lived, women are living, women struggle with the same struggles that you struggle. Just because she's a cleaner doesn't mean she doesn't know how to work with a teenager who's disruptive. Talk to her, listen, you might learn something. I'm learning a lot. Yeah.
Now, we all have these conversations leading up to Women's Day, around Women's Day,
yeah,
and Women's Month. How do we keep having these conversations year-round? What do we need to do to encourage women on a mass scale to have these conversations?
So from our perspective, our theme for, well, we celebrate 365 days of women. And so our theme this year throughout is Women's Lives Matters. And a lot of people asking me, what do you mean when you say women's lives matter? I say, yes, women's lives matter. Whether we are a young woman, whether we are older women, whether we are a middle-aged woman. And so we experience different things. And so we run a girl child after school program. And we find a lot in our program that some of the children's mothers have forgotten to tell them the girly things, the things that matter, the journey into young adulthood. And so we have devised, in another form of storytelling, journeying with our young 12 to 15-year-old girls about what it means to be a young girlie. So we have the conversations with them and we ask them, how are you feeling? And the stories that most of the children, the girls tell us, is that we know about things that, for example, their mothers doesn't know, because they feel that sometimes the space where they are in with their mother is a space where they cannot talk. So once a term we have a mother-daughter day where we invite mom over to the program, we have a cup of tea and we have a conversation with mom and daughter. And in the same, we use the same principle for our older persons program. We run a program for grannies. And we continue the conversations because it's important for us as women to talk. There's different variants of talk. There's gossip. And so I always tell women, let's gossip about the good things under the washing line. Because I work in flats, and so the washing lines are communal spaces. There is where we comment about the color of the fabric. No, yours is not white, mine is white. How do you wash your stuff? And so I've initiated in 2 of the floods that we start gossiping around under the washing lines about the good things, compliment each other, and saying, you know what, I admire you for being a single woman with 8 children and being able to wash 12 lines of washing, even if it doesn't as white as what I have, because I only have 3 loads, that you are able to manage this with your children. These are the conversations we need to continue. We need to stop looking at the outer and compliment. We are so scared as women to compliment each other. You know what, you have a nice shoe. We'll say, look at the shoe and say, okay, the shoe doesn't really fit her. It's not a style. I mean, these are the conversations. And I think one of the things, when we say as an organization, women lives matter, how do we act woman towards woman? I joke a lot and I tell women, you know, when we walk in church, everybody looks at everybody else's hat. Have we ever thought of complimenting each other's hat? Because you can look at the looks and you see the approval and the disapproval. But the disapproval is your opinion. Thank you for your opinion. But keep the opinion to yourself and share something positive. And if we can start there, 365 days, 1 day a week as a woman, I take the responsibility of complimenting another woman. We don't know what that compliment feels to another woman on that particular day.
Philippa, did you have something to add?
No, I think for me it's about be curious. Listen, whether it's with your children or with your children's friends or women, because I think that's the thing, we're not curious about each other. We are so keen to get into the business of what we need to do or to gossip. And I need to say, hi, Jennifer, how are you doing, you know? And tell me about yourself. You know, because you could know someone for 10 years at work and know nothing about them. And that's it. In our book, in the book Being a Woman in Cape Town, we do have a section also on how to tell your story. The other thing is, don't be shy, because I think as women we're told not to talk about yourself. You know, you can talk about your children, you can talk about your husband, you can talk about your friend, but don't talk about yourself. And I think creating those spaces to talk about yourself, to talk about issues. I've just met a group of women who've been meeting once a month for 5 years. Wow. And on that day, their families know that this is our time together, and they have an agreement that in that space, anything is okay. You can cry, you can laugh, you can talk about anything. And so they come into those spaces once a month and they have the conversation. And I think creating those spaces is important, because long ago we used to have quilting together or cooking together. Those spaces, and it was in those spaces that the conversation would start as you peeled the beans together or something. We don't have those spaces in modern life. And so it's our responsibility to create those spaces so we can create networks that hold us when life is hard, because we need that.
Do you think women are afraid to create those spaces and reveal who they really are?
I think that is part of it. I think that many of us have been burnt by sharing something with someone and having them use it as ammunition against you. So there is a process of building trust and agreeing what's confidential, and then you have to test that. I can't be sure that I can trust you until I trust you, and then I'll know whether I should have trusted you or not. But I think a lot of people have been burnt, and with social media, people find it so easy to put your stuff out there without checking with you. So yeah.
Lucinda?
I agree with Philippa, and I mean, we see it often when we run parent support programs, and it takes us quite a while to get that trust for somebody to completely feel comfortable in saying, I struggle as a parent, without being judged. because everybody else measures you with a measuring stick. You have to be a particular parent. At a certain age, your child have to do something. And if your child doesn't reach the milestone of what societal norms think your child should, you are a bad parent. So we're finding when we have our parent support programs that women are scared to speak. Am I going to be judged in saying, but I don't manage my zinc. I cannot manage my zinc and my child at the same time. So I get to my zinc at 5 o'clock in the morning. And so who's going to say, oh, but you're an untidy woman? Or I can manage my zinc and I forget about my child because I'm too house proud. And forget I'm raising a little person that needs my attention, my affection. And so for us working with women and telling them, you know what, it's okay if you don't manage your zinc. If you can manage at 5 o'clock in the morning, it's also okay. It's your zinc, it's not my zinc. It's not my place to tell you whether you're good or not. I do not walk in your shoes. I cannot walk in your shoes for one day. If I should trade places with you for one day, I would not be able to do what you do. And so thank you also for managing with the little that you have, in the space that you have, with the things that you do. And so we need to really start thinking more widely, and social media plays a very, very big role in a lot of people's lives. Because of social media, we forget to talk to each other.
Exactly.
And I'm sometimes shocked when you're in a restaurant and you see people sitting across from each other and they're busy texting. So I always want to ask, where's the Wi-Fi button? Can I just press off so that people just talk? Because we forgot to talk. Like birthdays and anniversaries becomes impersonal because we send somebody a message, happy birthday. How much more would that face-to-face contact would have felt if somebody came and said happy birthday? So,
Now, how can we get Being a Woman in Cape Town?
Well, you can come to the launch on Friday at 5:30 at Artscape. Otherwise, I think through the Women's Zone office, and that's at Artscape. And I think face-to-face who are the publishers. They will also have copies. If you email info@womanzone.co.za, I think you will be led to the right place.
Great, thank you both for coming in and sharing. That was really great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.